welcome to the Rich Report, a podcast with news and information on the world of cloud computing. Today, my guest is from Arkeia Software. We have the CEO of the company, Bill Evans. Bill, welcome to the show today.
Thanks, Rich. It's great to be with you.
It's great to have you as well. I've brought your slides up. Curious to learn more about Arkeia, and why don't we save the Q&A towards the end?
Okay, great. Happy to do that. Let me start by letting you know that I want to give you one slide about Arkeia to give you some background. Then I want to introduce your audience to hybrid cloud backup and share our definition of hybrid cloud backup and why it's important. And then I'll save one slide until the very end that will tell you what's coming out with Arkeia's new major release, version 10.0, on June 12th. Arkeia Software has been in the business of data protection since 1996. We have offices around the world and do our development today in Silicon Valley and Paris. We have one product suite that focuses on backup and recovery, including bare metal disaster recovery. Arkeia protects over 200 different physical platforms, virtually every platform out there, as well as all major virtual environments, including VMware, Hyper-V, and Xen. Unlike most backup companies, we deliver our products as a software application, as an appliance, and as virtual appliances. And all of the capabilities of one are available on the others. We focus on the mid-market and today have 10,000 customers spread across the world. We're enjoying very strong growth, having grown our new customers at a rate of 89% from 2010 to 2011. We're also very proud of the rate at which we retain customers in our maintenance programs, where that renewal rate is 94%. Now, Rich, let me talk a little bit about hybrid cloud backup. We tell our customers at Arkeia that offsite storage is a prerequisite to any successful backup. Any backup that isn't maintained offsite won't protect you against theft or flood or earthquake at your primary site. So the backup isn't complete until you move it offsite. There are several alternatives for moving backups offsite. One alternative is to move media by truck. Typically that's tape. Another is to back up directly to the cloud, and a number of consumer products today are doing that. And a third possibility is what we call hybrid cloud backup. It's hybrid because you first do the backup to the local area network, and then you replicate it to the cloud. We encourage our customers to consider various factors in choosing among these three strategies, and those factors include cost, length of the backup window, time to restore, and so on. And if you evaluate these strategies for offsite storage on the basis of fixed costs, variable costs, backup window, and time to restore, you can see that the distributions of good and bad vary. The backup straight to cloud is the one that serves most mid-market customers least well. Backing up direct to cloud is unattractive to the mid-market because backup windows are long, because you're trying to push your data through a very narrow pipe. Similarly, time to restores are long because you're trying to suck that data back out of the cloud. Better for the mid-market are solutions that do a backup first on the LAN and then move that backup set off-site, either with truck or with a wide area network connecting to the cloud, whether a private cloud or a public cloud. The truck and the wide area network show very different combinations of fixed costs and variable costs. The truck has high fixed costs because you have to pay for the truck to come to your offices every day. You have to have that tape library on your premises to be able to generate those tapes. But if the truck is coming to your office and you have not 20 tapes but 21 or 22 or 40, the variable cost of those additional tapes on the truck are quite low. By comparison, if you're doing a hybrid cloud backup, the fixed costs, the upfront costs, are virtually zero. If you have a very small amount of data, it will cost you very little to push that up over the wire into the cloud. But the high cost of bandwidth makes it expensive if you have large volumes of data. We've tried to summarize these cost trade-offs of these two alternatives on this slide. Now, we know why offsite storage is important. Again, it's loss of the original site that makes offsite storage important. But the less expensive solution is really a function of the volume of data that you're protecting. Actual costs will vary by customer based on what their suppliers can provide, but the general lines shown here are accurate. If you have a tapes on trucks replication strategy, you have substantial fixed costs, but the incremental costs as data volume increases are quite small. Replication to cloud has very low fixed costs, but the line is steeper. Today, these two lines intersect below 1 terabyte. The volumes at which replication to cloud is less expensive than tapes on trucks are still quite small, but there's no question that that line of intersection is moving to the right faster and faster. So today, the logical decision for most customers, based on the amount of data that they have to protect, is to follow the bright yellow line. That is, for smaller volumes of data, you use replication to the cloud on the WAN, and for larger volumes of data, use tapes on trucks. Using hybrid cloud backup means making a local backup on your LAN and then replicating the backup to the cloud. In principle, you could do this either with tapes or with a wide area network. For hybrid cloud backup, there's always a first backup, a full backup, followed by incrementals forever. For the first full backup, you want to be able to move this data into the cloud, off-site. And you can do that either by writing the data to physical media, to portable media, and moving those up to the cloud, or by pushing the data over the WAN. If you decide to use portable media and you have that transported by FedEx or UPS, you can enjoy a 1 gigabit per second pipe from UPS or FedEx, because a 10 terabyte disk array sent to its destination in 24 hours gives you effectively 1 gigabit per second. For the incremental backups, and this is the more important issue, for the incremental backups, you must be able to move those daily backups over the WAN in less than 24 hours. If it takes you more than 24 hours to move the incremental backups to the cloud, you'll fall behind and you'll never catch up. So requiring a sufficiently small volume of incremental data on most days to get that data up to the cloud is a prerequisite for adopting hybrid cloud backups with a daily backup regime. The daily cloud replication window can be calculated using this multiplication table. If you look along the left column, you can see that the volumes of data after deduplication range from 10 gigabytes to 1 petabyte. And the bandwidth to the cloud ranges from 10 kilobits per second to 100 gigabits per second. Consider the example of a company having 1 terabyte of data to be protected after deduplication and having a 10 megabit pipe. Pushing a full backup over the wire would take 9.7 days. But if the incremental backup were only 1% of the size of the full backup, it should take only 2.3 hours full throttle to move that data to the cloud. The incremental backup size, because it's significantly less than 24 hours, means that this company is a candidate for hybrid cloud backup. The large size of the full backup, the fact that it would take 9.7 days to move that to the cloud over the WAN, suggests that the company is probably also a candidate for moving that first full backup on portable media rather than trying to push it over the WAN. The use of external media makes sense for hybrid cloud backup because the workloads in hybrid cloud backup are really of two types. They are the large workloads and the small workloads. The large workloads consist of that first backup, where all the data are moved to the cloud, and disaster recovery, where all the data are pulled out of the cloud. The other workloads are much smaller, and these are the daily incremental backups and the recovery of individual files from the cloud. What we're proposing at Arkeia is that you use different solutions for these two different kinds of workloads. For the large workloads, we propose that you use physical media. Giving a 10 terabyte disk array to FedEx and letting them move that to the cloud gives you effectively a 1 gigabit temporary pipe. The latency is high, but for backup data, it makes perfect sense. For the small workloads shown in the lower diagram, the better solution is to push those small workloads over the wide area network. The attraction here is that it's automated, it's reliable, it's cheap. You don't have to provision bandwidth necessary for the large workloads to handle these small workloads. So Arkeia Network Backup version 10 that we're launching on June 12th of this year gives us capabilities that mid-sized companies need to do hybrid cloud backups. There are 5 major features of Arkeia Network Backup version 10. 3 of these major features are focused on delivering improved capabilities for hybrid cloud backup. The first capability for hybrid cloud backup we call cloud seeding and feeding. Cloud seeding you're probably familiar with. Cloud seeding means that that first backup set is moved to the cloud on portable media. Feeding is similar to seeding, but it's used after the first seeding operation has been completed. If you've seeded your cloud with your first full backup using external USB-connected disk drives or disk arrays, and 6 months later your backup load changes dramatically, you can use external media again to move an unusually large incremental backup up to the cloud. In effect, any combination of external media and WAN transport is acceptable for moving backup sets to the cloud or returning backup sets from the cloud to the LAN. This full flexibility between large bandwidth temporary networks represented by FedEx and UPS and small networks automated and represented by your wide area network provider make hybrid cloud realistic for most mid-sized companies. In addition to seeding, feeding, and cloud recovery, we're introducing a new capability in version 10 called replication tunneling. This tunneling protects your data in motion, in transit from the LAN to the cloud and the cloud to the LAN. The data are protected whether they're moved over the WAN or whether they're moved on portable media. The data are protected because they're encrypted at the source and decrypted at the destination. Whether the original data then are encrypted at the time of backup or not, the data are still protected as they move to the cloud. So if that box falls off the back of the truck, you're safe because your data are meaningless without the key used in the encryption. The fourth major capability of Arkeia Network Backup version 10 is a re-engineering of our download, installation, and configuration capabilities. Whether you have a half dozen clients on your local area network or hundreds of clients, we're going to make it still easier for you to install our software and push out new versions of both agents and backup servers. And then finally, new with Arkeia Network Backup version 10 is source volume licensing. As the entire backup category transitions from agent-based licensing to source volume licensing, we're making available source volume licensing as a complement to our target-based licensing and agent-based licensing. That's it, Rich. We're very excited about what we're delivering in Arkeia Network Backup version 10. We think that we're continuing to lead the category in delivering these advanced capabilities for hybrid cloud backup. Arkeia will continue to support backup to disk and backup to tape, but we'll be ready when our customers are ready to move to hybrid cloud backup as the next generation solution to getting their backup sets safely offsite.
So thanks for that presentation, Bill. So a couple questions here. I'm curious how the big boys do this, right? The big data centers, we always assume once it's in the cloud, it's safe, it's protected, it's backed up. Are they using a combination of truck and LAN and automation? How would you characterize that?
Well, yeah, Amazon is an excellent choice of example because they're relevant in several ways. Large organizations with large volumes of data will either back up this data, typically to tape, and then move it off-site with trucks, or they will, by virtue of having large bandwidth between sites, be able to replicate it from one site to another. If you have access to large pipes, suddenly you have a lot more flexibility than you would otherwise have. But Amazon is also relevant to this discussion because Amazon is a cloud target for some of our customers. You can configure S3 as a target for your backups. The problem with these public cloud providers, though, is that they have no process in place for dealing with cloud seeding or feeding. So if you want to send data to S3, there's only one way to get the data to S3. That's to send it over the wire. By comparison, a lot of our customers, VARs and MSPs that use the Arkeia software, are providing hybrid cloud backup services to their customers. It's these mid-market providers that are going to be interested in cloud seeding and feeding, where our customer, the VAR or the MSP, is going to be providing the service to accept media from the end user and taking the backup sets off that media and putting it into the cloud that they manage for their customers.
So I'm curious, Bill, about your customers and prospects. Do they really understand their backup needs, or are they more just we're trying to continue a legacy of, well, we've always done it this way and we're having trouble?
Well, part of the responsibilities of Arkeia's resellers is to educate the end users on what options are available. There are a lot more options available for offsite backup today than there were even 5 years ago. So our customers, our end user customers, really depend on VARs to bring them up to speed on hybrid cloud backup, the use of backup direct to cloud, the role of deduplication. We don't expect the end users to come to us and say, I want to adopt this kind of hybrid cloud backup or that kind of hybrid cloud backup.
And then I have to say, Bill, I'm kind of spoiled by the Macintosh has this time machine, right, where I can just go back to any date and get my file, the one file I want to get, right, without dealing with a lot of complexity. Do you help your customers with that as well, that kind of model?
You can certainly implement a model like that using the Arkeia software. But the time machine has implicit in the way it's delivered a set of backup strategies that it enforces without much flexibility. We have the advantage of working with our resellers to look at each customer's requirements and applying best practices for what their needs are. You might not want to keep every version of every file that you've ever had. On the other hand, before you run out of disk space, you might want to keep some snapshots from many years ago rather than keeping a daily record back for just 6 months. So knowing what the customer's requirements are permits the VARs to deliver the solution that meets their business needs. And the flexibility of the Arkeia product, whether it's in managing tapes or managing disk, managing transport via truck or transport over the wide area network or via hybrid cloud, any of these solutions is a fair option.
Well, great. So, Bill, kind of a wrap-up question here. If we've got listeners out there, you've perked up their ears, what's the best way to engage with Arkeia?
Best way to engage with Arkeia is to engage with our channel. These channel partners that we have are experts in storage, experts in backup. We've trained them ourselves, so we should know. We encourage listeners to contact us, and we'll put you in touch with someone in your neighborhood that can tell you what your options are for protecting your data, whether tape is the right solution, whether cloud is the right solution, and how you can take advantage of new technologies that are being made available in the data protection category.
Thanks for coming on the show, Bill.
Thank you, Rich.
You're welcome. All right, folks, that's it for the Rich Report. Stay tuned for more news and information on the world of cloud computing.